Remember this man? He is Tom Anderson, and if you ever joined Myspace, he was your first friend. At one time, Myspace was a legitimate competitor to Facebook and promised to redefine social media. In 2005, Rupert Murdoch's media powerhouse News Corp bought Myspace. Since then, the company has gone from social media to social mess. It is the cover story of this week's Bloomberg Business Week. And for more, we want to bring in the man who wrote the story, Felix Gillette from Bloomberg Business Week. He's with me right here beside me in the newsroom. Felix, thanks for coming in to talk about this story. What is the most striking thing to you about the rise and fall of Myspace?
Well, I think at a time when the markets are going crazy for social media companies, I think the Myspace story is a great reminder to investors just how combustible these social networks have been. And when you combine fast-moving technology, fickle users, and just how susceptible social media networks have been to public perception, it's a very volatile mix.
So, Felix, I mean, whose fault is it? Did News Corp CEO Rupert Murdoch just lose interest in Myspace? I mean, he bought it and then he ended up pursuing the Wall Street Journal. Did he just get distracted? Who's to blame?
I think part of it was that they never quite figured out how to guide Myspace from being a very popular service with users to a mature business. And they didn't find someone. Facebook found a great COO, Sheryl Sandberg, who's done an amazing job there of making that transition. And I think News Corp struggled to find somebody with sort of the technological background that could do this for Myspace.
Because even one very practical thing, Myspace never even was able to create a spam filter.
Right. Yeah, and that was, a big problem for them. The site was littered with spam. And you combine that with some of the investigations that were going on. Myspace was the first social network where a lot of people's kids were on Myspace for the first time.
So there was concern about content, adult content,
exactly.
Pornography,
and then
predators.
You combine that with the fact that there's spam all over the site, and it got the reputation of being a pretty dangerous place, a seedy place.
And Mark Zuckerberg's Facebook, in the meantime, looked like a clean, well-lit room.
Here comes Facebook, and Facebook did a great job of saying, hey, we're a very safe environment, it's brightly lit, this is a safe place for your kids, your family members to connect, and especially for advertisers, they love that. I mean, there was always a real nervousness about putting ads on Myspace because there was a sense you couldn't control what was going to be popping up next to your ad.
In the case of the numbers telling the story, Myspace and the parent intermix. Murdoch's News Corp paid $580 million, right. And now in your reporting, you say they would be happy to sell it for $100 million.
Oh, they would love to get $100 million, but they won't even get that.
What do you think the most likely scenario is?
I think at this point, there's a group of investors. Bobby Kotick is part of that group. They're pretty close to finalizing a deal. But at this point, I think News Corp would give it away. I mean, they just are really done. They want it off their books. Rupert Murdoch has moved on. He's got his tablet-only news organization, The Daily, that he's very interested in.
Which isn't tracking that well anyway.
Which isn't tracking that well. But
he believes in it.
Myspace is really, yesterday's future for News Corp.
All right. Thank you very much. Felix is an interesting read. Felix Gillette joining us. He wrote that story in Bloomberg Business Week about the rise and fall of Myspace.